Hi, everybody. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci of CFL Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download the app, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on smart TVs 2016 forward. Joining me now is the one, the only David Morassutti. David is in Toronto. I am in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Yes, I was here for the football game, the Canadian Football League game. It was fun. It was exciting. It was an adventure, to say the least, and getting a chance to meet a lot of the CFL fans coming from different cities, many, of course, from Saskatchewan. And I'm going to start by saying people thought it was going to be 10 to 1 as far as fans are concerned. It wasn't. In the stands, it seemed to be maybe 6-4, 5-5. I'll let you figure out which was the 6 and which was the 4. So, David, the first question I want to ask is, what did the game look like in your mind on the TV?
Well, it was nice to see a full stadium, and it was nice to see the atmosphere, like it was a party over there. Like
it was.
And the other thing too, as I was sitting in my ice box of a basement, I was saying how many life human-sized lobsters were there, or as we call it in Italian, how many of them had the pomodoro skin, the tomato
Absolutely.
skin?
There. You want to see? Let me see. Well, I don't know if you can see it. Well, you can see it when I did the other show. Well, here's one way to see it. There you go.
Okay. Oh, what type of show we have in here?
Redneck.
It was, it looked like it was a very, very hot day, and not a
It
lot
was.
of found.
It was. It was 37 degrees with the heat index. My hair's straight. It's so hot and humid here.
Yeah. It looked really hot, but it looked fun. It looked, you know what? I feel like I was missing out on a party. It's almost like when you're watching somebody else, when you're sitting at home or when you're sitting somewhere and you say, you know what? Kind of wish I was there, because you see how much of a good time it was. That's what it looked like for me.
And you know what? You were right to be missing it, because it was something else. It was awesome. Now, I'll start by saying the party in Halifax was not a 10. It was a little less than a 10. And the reason it was a little less than a 10, it was a situation where a lot of people in Halifax didn't know the game was actually taking place there. And I'm not here to humiliate the Canadian Football League and play video of them saying, what's here? But there were a lot of people who were glad to know it was here when they realized it was here. And there were a couple of party nights, and there were a lot of people there. It was pretty full, and it was a lot of fun. And that part left a little bit to be desired. They had a nice concert, all that kind of stuff. There was a lot of great stuff going on. But then, David, it got to the point where it was time to go to the game. And it was excellent the way they had it set up. There were no issues with people going to Wolfville, which was like 100 kilometers away, okay, something like that. It was an hour and 10 minutes, basically, to go there. So you had two choices. You could drive to a Wolfville high school, park your car, and get on a bus for the last 10, 15-minute drive. Or you could get a bus from Halifax near the hotel that the CFL players and everybody else was staying at. And it was about an hour and change a ride to Wolfville. Everybody got off the buses. Oh, David, it was crowded as heck. The people had tickets like greased lightning through the stands. There was no confusion. It was very organized. Everything looked wonderful. You get inside the stadium. Everybody knows where they're going to sit. All of a sudden, you had your 10,000 people and your 890, 880 people who were standing room, and they're standing around having a great time. They had all kinds of stuff going on for kids, for adults. They're giving away all kinds of free stuff. They were obviously, the fans were getting an opportunity to make fun of the on-air people at TSN, laughing at them, doing the Argos thing, doing the Ryder thing. And the rest was fantastic. The game was perfectly executed. There was only the exception to the rule of it being perfect was they had a little trouble with the Wi-Fi. So sometimes you might have noticed the referee had to sort of wait for an answer because he wasn't getting getting it. The Wi-Fi was going up and down. Remember, the technology here was done just for this game. So everything was fantastic. Yeah, the press box, if you remember the press, was dirt terrible. We had to sit in the stands. Well, we don't matter. What matter is the fans and the game itself. But it wasn't accommodating the media. But who cares about the media? Not even I care about the media. I don't care about that. I sat in the stands, watched the game. I couldn't sit behind my laptop, which I like to do. Watch the game while I'm watching the game. But that was a small price to pay for the wonderful experience it was. Wolfville was fantastic. Acadia was unbelievable. The school stepped in and filled in all the gaps and helped with the CFL security, tech, organization, everything. They were fantastic. The CFL and Acadia were like that. I'm very proud of the job they did together. And like I said, these things are hard to be perfect. This was as close as perfect gets.
Well, that's a good thing to hear, right? Because the last thing they had a long time to kind of get ready for this and prepare for this, but the CFL has kind of a platform for this. Grey Cup week, you're pretty much taking a Grey Cup week and you turned it into Touchdown Atlantic. So the infrastructure and the planning is there. You're just doing it in July versus doing it in November or December. So I think that's what helped the CFL with an event like this. And yeah, from a lot of the people that I saw on social media kind of describing their experience, it really spoke to how this was not just an event again for Saskatchewan fans and for Toronto fans, but it was really for CFL fans, because also what the CFL is trying to do is showcase to those who are maybe naysayers about the CFL in the Atlantic provinces. Look, we can pack 10,000 people. And it didn't take them long to get those seats filled. I understand that Saskatchewan is a very well-traveled fan base. I do get that, but if you show that there's excitement for CFL football in that province, it helps maybe those who are trying to get that, as a really big part of the future. Because to have 10 teams, I don't think people do realize how vital it is to have 10 teams in the CFL.
And also to add a 10th team here on the other end that we're not covered in Canada, the Atlantic provinces, that's a little juice that we would get in the league. And I really think that we really can't judge the league according to the last couple of years. I think that's only fair. I think what we have to do is we have to be patient with the league, let them recover economically, because they do have to recover. Remember, there's $75 million they're trying to get from the government to help pay debt, for the games and season that was lost because of COVID. So that's something that has to happen. Financially, the Canadian Football League. The fact that I look at it this way, and people can take it in a negative sense if they wish. I look at it as a positive sense. For the league to survive what it survived, based on a league that is strictly, and we all know it's a ticket driven league. That's what makes this league go. For it to have survived and come into this year ready to go, raring to go, to have a season, it is something of, I think, a godsend. And I think people should be very proud of that. CFL fans, I know, as I am, as a CFL fan and someone who covers the CFL, I'm proud for them that they survived. The negative things that people might suggest that I'm saying, because when I say they don't have the money to do stuff, it's because it's real. It's real. They don't have the money to do stuff. They just came through, no season, no money, no nothing. And now here they are putting on a great season, which I think it is. We're starting over again, and we're going back to the way it was before all the trauma that is COVID-19. We had our exhibition games. We have our 18 games. We have our schedule full. We have teams showing up everywhere. We're having, I think, the season is starting to round into a really interesting one. We've got a couple of teams that started slow. Unfortunately, they seem to all be in the East, but they're picking up. So as far as that's concerned, if you want to pick it up from there, that's where I see what's going on with the Canadian Football League and why this event was so important, and the success of it means so much to everyone. involved.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's, for the CFL, it's a matter of how do we take this excitement of what just happened in the Atlantic provinces and capitalize on the momentum? How do we make sure that the message is out there that the CFL can thrive? I understand fill 10,000 seats isn't very hard to do because a lot of teams are able to get 10,000, but imagine at a time where, everything has gone up in terms of cost. The plane ticket to get there, the hotel prices, everything went up. And yet people still committed, 10,000 people committed to going there. I think that speaks to there is still a passion because this wasn't just any game. This was really an experience. And I think if I'm the CFL, the biggest takeaway I take from all this is you can sell on the experience if you can make sure that people are understand that they're getting every bang for their buck for the experience that they're getting. Whether the game is good or not, the experience of what they just went through, that leaves a good I guarantee a lot of people that went to that game are going to say, you know what, they go again, I'll be right back. I will do it. Or those who are watching and says, you know what, I missed out, I'll go to the next one if my team is playing.
Let me add another point that's really important, and I think it's salient, and I think it's relevant to the nth degree. The other thing is that the schooner people, the people that are bringing a team here to who wanted up until the COVID, that want to bring a team here to Nova Scotia, were not involved at all in this event. Does that mean that they're walking away from a team in Nova Scotia? We heard reports are such that we heard secondhand that the mayor has, I think it was Three Down Nation, Justin Dunk mentioned that, well, there's no appetite in council to bring a CFL team here. Well, we have to accept the fact if you're pro CFL in Halifax and you're in Halifax, there's some work to be done. There has to be a recovery of the idea. There has to be a priority position that they can be put in. The people here got to put the CFL on the list of priorities of things to be done. The commissioner has stated it accurately and 100%. I'm behind 100%. They need to concentrate on a stadium, and they need to concentrate on events, massive amounts of events and or organizations that take the place beyond the 10 games that the CFL provides. So, that's not a lot of scheduling that the CFL provides. The reality is there have to be other teams, other organizations, other levels of government that have to be involved, and they need to buy into the fact that they could use a stadium. Until that happens, there won't be much talk about a CFL team in Halifax because, like real estate, they say about real estate, location, location, location. And when it comes to expansions, football teams, Canadian Football League as well, it's a stadium, stadium, stadium.
Yeah. The other thing I thought about too, it looks fantastic to go and watch a game in the summertime and the fall. What about the winter? What if,
They're
because
not bad here. Halifax isn't bad here in the winter. They've got the jet stream there as long as they're not in they have a snow belt like we do in Ontario.
Okay. So my question here is in order to sell this to a potential owner, the one thing they're going to want, when are we going to get a Grey Cup?
Well, that's the
Because
first thing.
what happens to any market that gets a Grey Cup? They see an influx of revenue because, again, tickets, usually it's the team that's hosting it that gets a portion of the ticket sales. Um, there's a lot that happens. The city will invest because they know the tourism impact of a Grey Cup. We've seen it even in a pandemic year. Hamilton had a little bit of a bump, which was a good thing because Hamilton wasn't getting much during the pandemic. Saskatchewan should receive a bit of a bump after, they have this would be their first Grey Cup in quite a while, right? And they have that brand new stadium that they have to pay for, right? So these are important factors, I think, that can help sell um, an idea of expansion. It's just when you get political parties involved, meaning city councils and private entities involved, the finances have to make sense. Obviously, pandemic has kind of changed that a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't help that the group that was pushing for the Schooners weren't a part of this. But maybe it's also the CFL saying we're going to try to figure this out whether you guys are involved or not.
Yeah, well, for all intents and purposes, as the commissioner has at least alluded, we're here waiting. As soon as somebody comes up here with a plan, which includes a stadium, we just check out who these people are, how serious they are, financially. The CFL will do its checks, its balances, and their due diligence. They have to do that, and their due diligence, will provide an opportunity for a good decision to be made. And if that good decision is awarding a team to Halifax, it'll happen. But right now, council's not interested. There was $20 million on the table before the pandemic. That $20 million no longer exists. There was a group pushing for a franchise. There no longer is a group. I'm summarizing the circumstances here. We've established that there's some interest here, even when the interest isn't promoted that deeply. And we also understand that the players love coming here. That's another thing that I'd like to add as well. There are many of them who go, I love fish. This is a great place to be. The fish and the way this place is. And David, it's one of those nice things. When you see a stadium, how beautiful Mosaic, Winnipeg, how beautiful the stadiums are in the Canadian Football League. But to have a picturesque situation like this, Wolfville, I love Wolfville. They did a great job, and you saw some beautiful pictures. Wait till you see what Halifax looks like, and if they put the stadium where I've been shown it, the desire was to put it. Man, that'll be as picturesque a sight for TSN to show before the game, during the game, to breaks, to commercials.
So that was going to be my question, because there is a professional team in Halifax, the Wanderers. That's the Canadian Premier League soccer club. They have their own stadium. It's not a big stadium.
3,000 people, I think. 3,000 people.
Yeah.
And they fill it.
And I think they can get 6 to 7 with expanded, like with full capacity. Could you not, if you're the CFL, figure out a solution with that team to say, hey, we'll try to find a group that will work with you guys to try to get a stadium that will not just host CFL games, but that will do both.
Absolutely. That's what has to happen.
How many times, Frank, have we had a conversation where you cannot have a stadium with one purpose?
Not at all.
Every stadium, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in the States, Europe, they are multi-purpose stadiums because that's how you pay the bills. You can't pay the bills with one club. There aren't many. I think of like venues like Madison Square Garden. There is almost something every night at Madison Square Garden. Wembley Stadium, the most famous stadium, I think, in Europe. There is always something there because that's how you pay the bills. You can't pay in the bills with just nine games a year. It's not feasible. I can understand why the city council would say, no, we're not going to do a CFL only stadium. That's not the point. The point is you're trying to get something that will not only do one thing for the city, will not bring one entertainment aspect, but you're trying to make it a destination for multiple things. And that's where I think the CFL needs to push for. Were we getting a guest?
Yeah, Frank Kirby.
Hey, Frank, how are you doing?
Did you?
Good.
Did you bring a picture of the thing you do?
Oh, I can
grab a picture of the thing you do. Yeah, Frank, for many years, for almost around 30 years, basically he was a mascot working for a radio station, and he's been at every sporting event that's here I'll give him. We'll give him. We'll give him a minute or two to tell us
All-
about who he's met and stuff. But
all this
let's.
ask Frank about this.
Well, absolutely. We can move over a little more. Come a little more. Yeah, you're in the picture. There you are, buddy. Okay, so oh, by the way, I got to mention Audrey. She's the most wonderful hostess. She got her step thing to work, and she says, I don't know how, but 20,000 steps that's getting me coffee, getting me breakfast, doing all kinds of stuff. And I didn't ask her to. Audrey's fantastic. His wife. She was real wonderful, and Frank was too. So I want to personally thank you for the time that you showed me here.
And I have to agree, or else it's a divorce.
Okay, show the picture, and we'll continue with the stuff.
Oh,
here, let me try. Here,
Frank, yeah, take a little further down.
Yep, go down.
Oh, there we go. Okay, wow.
There. Okay, that's the artistic rendition, but he has some actual pictures as well. So you can zoom back now. Thank you. So Frank, where we're at, and it's a good time for you to come in here and talk about this. From a person who lives in Halifax, we've had many a conversation. We've been both, chomping at the bit to see a team here in Nova Scotia and Halifax in particular. Tell us first where it was before the pandemic. How close do you think this community was, to get a CFL team?
Well, Frank, to tell you the truth, it was very, very close. And a lot of people blame COVID for, the extinction or the closing of a lot of things, but we were so close. The city had offered $20 million towards the building of a stadium, and locations were picked. And the first location was turned down because of economic development and other plans they had for the locale, and transportation in and out of the city to that particular location. But they had already had backup locations ready to go. But COVID hit, and it threw everything to a complete stop.
They were at the last moment of picking a place to put the team, the stadium, right? And as he says, they went right through the whole process. They were doing their due diligence of where the best place was to put a stadium. They realized that City Center was better. And as I said to Frank, he drove me by the spot where the stadium was proposed, where it probably would have been, where the shovel might have been put in, that first shovel, and it's off the highway, looking down at a patch of land surrounded by water. And if you know the Halifax skyline, it's a beautiful skyline. It's not 200 square miles of skyline, but it's a beautiful city. It has 500,000 people. It's not a small town. It's a city, and it's a really vibrant city. I had a chance to get to see it up close and personal. And so they could have had a team. Then the pandemic hit. So my next question to you, as a resident of Halifax and a CFL fan. By the way, he goes to Grey Cups. He goes to Saskatchewan.
And Super Bowls?
Well, we don't talk about Super Bowls here, Frank. Frank, we don't talk about Super Bowls.
Yeah, we only watch that after.
We don't talk about Super Bowl.
We only watch that after CFL Grey Cup is over.
Absolutely. Once CFL season's done, it's time to watch the NFL.
Yeah.
He has a son who was a very good football player, so you know what it was like.
Yeah,
to be a part of football as a family thing. So it's inbred in his family.
Yeah.
So tell us, how do you see the possibility as a resident of Halifax? What do you think, from your perspective, has to happen for you guys to get back to where you were before the pandemic, and move on from that place where the final decision on where you're going to go and sticking a shovel in the ground for a stadium?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is get back economically to where we were. Everybody talks about a stadium, and of course that's dollars. And as I said, the city had committed $20 million, and looking forward to the provincial and federal government also kicking in their share. But it's a matter of dollars, and I don't know what level of government, municipal, provincial, federal, has that kind of dollars left after all the COVID aid. And that's where the bottom line is. I kind of believe that maybe some of our national and international businesses. I think of Sobeys, I think of Irving, I think of Stanfield. It has to be basically that way.
The biggest corporations in Canada.
Yeah,
That's who he's talking about.
yeah.
The people with the deepest pockets
could contribute to putting up a stadium. Like say we're 500,000 people. You compare that to Regina. We do have the population base. We do have the interest, as you saw.
And you have more of a population base if you were to say draw a circle around the people that go to Mosaic to watch a football game.
Oh.
You draw a circle that same size and go under the premonition that hey, people will come from that far, which they will in the Atlantic provinces.
Yep.
You're talking about 5-6 times as many people as in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, indeed. But where to get back to? First of all, I think we need heavy-duty international, national corporate sponsorship, and then the governments to kick in the minority of financing for a stadium. We all realize that 3 levels of government can't, after CERB alone cost the country millions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, and then of course the argument that we always get when we even when we were very close to getting a stadium, the argument was, well, what about health care? What about the homeless?
Those are important things.
Those are important things, but they don't realize the economic value,
the
return that a team and a stadium would bring to the region.
And the other thing that I've had a chance to talk to Frank and listen to some other people here. The other thing is that the Atlantic Coast has become a very proud sports community.
Mm-hmm.
Expand it beyond Nova Scotia and go to New Brunswick, go to Prince Edward Island, go to Newfoundland. You'll find there's a lot more interest in sports here. Not because the people in this community and those communities I just referred to have all of a sudden realized, wow, sports is awesome. They always have. It's those of us in the East and those of us outside of this community that don't give the respect to this community, to the Atlantic Canada, as much as I think they deserve. So, do you have a question for Frank?
Yeah.
For that, Frank.
Well, my thing is, is there an appetite really for, people say maybe it's just a 1-year thing. Every year they do the Touchdown Atlantic, and that's where the appetite is for, the CFL football in the Atlantic region. But do you think that's the case? Like, talking to people there, do they really want the team? Will there be a support for the team if the CFL pushes for one?
Yeah, I think that the core group, our football fraternity, which covers high school here, university, AUS, St. Mary's, St. FX, Acadia, where the game was just played. Very, 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 very strong base amongst football fans. But the sad thing, we don't talk NFL here, but we have more New England Patriots fans in Halifax than we do CFL fans. And talking to those people, they said, oh my God, if the CFL came here, I would buy a season's ticket immediately, because football is football. And these people are willing to switch their allegiance and go to our games and buy season's tickets because it is professional football. And be it Patriot fans or NFL fans, they don't care. They would indeed also be at that stadium watching CFL football.
Three reputable university colleges that play football, that have a deep history in the game of football, that produce some of the best players in this country. And we're only talking about Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
We're only talking about Nova Scotia. We start talking about other provinces within this region. So as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing that you have in the Atlantic provinces is a desire to be a part of sports, right? Because they're becoming more and more involved nationally when it comes to sports. The Memorial Cup champion, the Stanley Cup champion, is going to come here to Cole Harbour and bring a Stanley Cup, where it's been before, by the way. Some guy, what name? Crosby? Some guy named Crosby. So they have the desire to bring sports here. The financial issue is always about someone making a commitment that they feel they can be successful at, not lose an election because of it. That's part of it too. But my hope is, and I don't know if we can send some letters to those rich folks we were just talking about, Irving and company and Sobeys, and hey guys, come on, man. This is just this is just change in your pocket. You guys can afford to do this. That's what they need. They need somebody to underwrite Nova Scotia's ability to have a CFL team. And without that, it isn't going to happen, because at the end of the day, 10 games a year, Frank, full well that's not enough to produce enough fan or turnstile movement to to make a stadium viable. But the Wanderers are an issue. They're a possibility. And of course, concerts and the like. I know it only means in the summer months and that kind of thing. It's the same challenge the other Canadian Football League teams have in the prairies. The same problem. They can't use them in the winter as easily as they could in the summer. But I can imagine. I'm imagining now. I'm dreaming for the people of Nova Scotia. Here's my dream. Can I share it with you?
Go ahead. I think I know.
Can you imagine one of those hockey games in the middle of the winter? Colorado Avalanche against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
Do that kind of stuff before Crosby retires, and then those two guys would be the first in line to say, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's get her done." Yeah. So it's I've seen nothing but great sports fans here. Whether I turn on the television, whether I follow, university football, whether it's hockey, whether it's basketball, whether it's soccer, this community cares about sports, and all they need is a chance to show that they can support a team. And I think they could follow the same path that the Ottawa Red Blacks did, and have the sustainability that the Riders and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have, simply because they would be they would be part of the pride that this community could muster, and there's an excuse to be a part of a team. They're looking, and we'll see if it happens.
Well, you look at the Quebec Major Junior League. We have the most successful franchise in the Quebec League in regard to attendance. Right, we have the highest attendance. We won the Memorial Cup a couple of years ago. Now it's back to the Maritimes through New Brunswick, and then we have our professional soccer club, and then we have our professional lacrosse team. I've gone to the Scotiabank Center for a lacrosse game. It's full. So once it is here, people definitely will support it. And our fan base, football-wise, is
very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable. Big fraternity, Larry Utek. There are so many streets and subdivisions and housing developments named after Larry Utek, the ex-CFL player and coach at St. Mary's University. It's just, we're waiting to bite, right? But it's the government end, it's the dollars and SENC.
Yes. It's the dollars, and can they make it sense? Make sense of it. That's at the end of the day, that's what's got to happen, and hopefully it will.
Yep.
And then I'll have an excuse to come visit Frank and Audrey more often.
As I said, as a matter of fact, it's just not CFL fans; it's football fans that would fill that stadium to the tune of 20,000 a game. That it's all you need here, and
absolutely,
it will work. I know it will work.
And by the way, just as a postscript to his comment about the New England Patriots, the city of Boston, the city of Halifax, go back 300 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know that 300?
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, about 300, at least 300.
Yeah.
Because Boston, there was 1917. There was a big explosion here, and Boston sent a bunch of what do they call it? Water. Hydrostone. Built the communities back up again.
Whole section of the city.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was destroyed.
And you know what? The New England Patriots are closer than any other CFL team.
Exactly.
That might be part of it too, right? So bring a team that's closer. You might get some, Atlantic folks going to the game. I hope it happens. I understand why it isn't happening right now. Mm-hmm. And I guess to review, Frank, stadium. That's what they need. All right, Frank, thanks for doing this.
The horse.
Oh, by the way, I'll give you a chance. I'll ask him to review the game. You going to review the game?
Game was great, and the hard way to lose is in the last couple of minutes through a fumble and interception. That's what happened.
Rider fan. Rider fan.
Gotta be. We're the same kind of blue collar people in Saskatchewan
Absolutely.
as we are here in the Maritimes.
Absolutely, right? And a good sport about it, as is his wife. They were part. It was. I told the folks you weren't here. Was there a better organized situation to go to the game and how everybody was treated once they got to the Wolfville, the town? Going in through the gate was
exceptionally organized. We went to every touchdown landing since the exhibition game here in Halifax, Toronto, and Hamilton, and then all the regular season games in Moncton. And this was the best organized in regard to flow of people, getting people in and out after the game.
Absolutely.
The sitting was fantastic. Actually, it was only supposed to be 10,000, ended up to be closer to
almost 11.
Almost 11.
10, 8, 8, 0.
Yeah, they found a way to get some extra people around the
end zones.
Yeah. Standing room, baby.
Yeah, that's what they did. And people stood around and had a great time. And I got to tell you, David, everybody that I saw, everybody that I talked to, it was a great experience and it was a memorable one for them. And that's why we know for sure. David also mentioned the question, so I don't know if you're here or not, but doing this once a year, that's a lock. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a lock. The thing that happened here, why they have to go to Wolfville, St. Mary's, right, was under construction. So the end where they would have put the temporary seats that we saw here in Wolfville, they had the ground, they were digging it all up, they're doing something, they're fixing some stuff up, whatever. If they can put temporary seating here, I don't know that it can be a Montreal Alouette thing, but an annual thing. I think they could do it in this city, and I know for a fact that everybody was excited. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders practiced there. They practiced at St. Mary's, right? So they're more than willing to accommodate the Canadian Football League, where the Argos practice was less of a well-known place, and it was not really a university stadium, but it was a great place to practice. It was fantastic for practicing.
And getting away from the financial aspect, I think the CFL and CFL fans like you and I, Frank, have to really educate the public here on what it's just not football. It's the fraternity of coast to coast. People enjoying themselves, the celebration of football and the league, particularly the Grey Cup. But we have to sell what it means to be in the fraternity of the CFL. And as I say, with the base we have from football fans across the board, and then we get the education going in regard to what we're missing here. It'll take off.
I'll add something else to what he's saying to make the point a little more salient, and that is that if you were walking around Halifax, you didn't just see Argo jerseys and Rider jerseys. You saw Bomber jerseys. You saw Bomber jerseys. You saw every team. You saw Montreal, BC. You saw them all. Hamilton. You saw them all. They were all here. Edmonton fans were here. It wasn't as big an attraction as the Grey Cup is, but there were people who came because, as Frank says, the community thing where CFL fans love an excuse to get together, and that's what the Grey Cup is, and that's what this can become. And trust me when I say this, eventually somebody's going to realize how popular it is here, and when we have an opportunity to have one that's planned over a year, like hopefully the CFL is working on the next one, getting some commitments and making it and doing some of the things I told him, Frank. I know it wasn't nice. A lot of people won't like what I said, but you're gonna confirm it, and you're not gonna be willing to do it, but you'll do it anyway, just for the sake of honesty. It was not promoted that well within the city of Halifax. There were a lot of people.
As a matter of fact, we got multiple as ticket holders and CFL fans. We got multiple emails and updates and directions in regard to the way everything was going, but they did miss the GP, general population.
Yes, the street signs, that kind of stuff. We didn't see much
Banners.
Of that. Was that?
Yeah.
That's a fair statement,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of missing, and I just say that the CFL didn't have the money to do it. I know that sounds awful to admit, but I believe that has a lot to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully with a little more planning and maybe some help economically from the government, giving the CFL the money that they need to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Give those teams the money that they should have had in 19 or 20 that they didn't get.
Yeah.
And maybe once they're economically in a position to be able to promote the league in a manner that it deserves and the way they can, this event will get bigger and bigger. I'm telling you, it's in Halifax to stay. I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna make that statement right now. I believe nobody's told me anything, but I believe that it's in Halifax to stay.
And not just on an annual basis.
For now, that'll have to be what it is. For now, Frank. It's all right, Frank. For now,
the plaque that I have got, the wife and I have got from the original Touchdown Atlantic, which was an exhibition game between Toronto and Hamilton. It states, "We hope this happens more, maybe 10 times a year."
That's the enthusiasm thing.
Yep.
All right, now we've got a few minutes left. I really appreciate this, Frank.
Hey,
okay, buddy, and I appreciate everything you guys have done. And
thanks a lot, big guy.
CJ Birdie, CJ Birdie. Google it; you'll find him.
Hey, take care.
He has had a lot of famous people that have spent time talking to him, and he has a lot of fun experiences. And he also does Santa Claus in the winter. So otherwise, anyway. You want to talk about the rest of the games, or is there something you want to summarize?
No, let's. I mean, that we can just quickly summarize the games. I think Frank provided a nice local aspect on everything going on there.
Yeah, he definitely did, and it's a sincere love of the game for many people here who know the game, and people ready to love the game of football. In person. Let's be clear. Football is a much better game in person than it is, on television. If you think it's great on television, you go, if a league has a decent stadium where the game has the opportunity to show what it's made of and what it looks like and how great it is, it's a great game to go watch personally and in person. So, yeah. There were other games. I guess I'll ask you, which game this weekend was the one that interested you the most, that interested you before the week? I'll say 2 letters, C and W.
Oh, well, yeah, it was the battle of the unbeaten teams.
Was there a game that we anticipated more this week than that one? And in deference to the TD Atlantic, but the actual game and the wanting to see how two undefeated teams would be against each other, Calgary and Winnipeg, and they didn't disappoint.
No, it didn't. It didn't disappoint because you saw 2 teams that were almost clearly matched, like evenly matched. The quarterback battle was skewed a bit more towards Winnipeg's favor, but I thought Calgary played a good, complete game, as they have shown to be able to do. And the good thing is they didn't get off to a slow start this time. They did get things going early, and then Winnipeg kind of had control, and Calgary had their chances. That's the thing that got to me about this game was Calgary could have easily have won this game. And I know Kamar Jordan will be.
Oh God, I feel sorry for him, man.
Like, I don't like to blame any single event on one player, but
No.
he wasn't the reason why they lost the game. But it would have helped if he had made that catch in the end zone. Like, it was a very un-Kamar Jordan like, right? And like, you're gonna have one of those days. And he definitely will come out and say I think he's already come out and said he holds himself to a higher standard. When you get targeted 7 times and you only catch 1, that doesn't look very good on you, in my opinion.
He
Yeah.
had an off night. They're all entitled to it, David. And
Yeah,
it's bad enough he had an off night, but like you said, I mean, it hits his arm between the arms on the turf, the ball's on the arm, bounces, lands, banks off a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. There's Winnipeg Blue Bombers in these bank shots, these interceptions. That was the difference. That was a tie game if convert complete, and it could have ended differently. But what I'm going to say, and this is important, what a game! What a finish!
yeah,
I mean, that was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. And to think, like, yeah, he had a bad game, but he had a bad game against a team that you really want to beat. Because we're talking about Winnipeg is pretty much almost unbeatable. They've had close
Yeah.
wins. They've had blowout wins. Like, the thing, their last 2 games were really down to the wire type of games. So it's good that they're not just rolling over teams, but still, this is a game again where Winnipeg continues to show that they know what it takes to pick up the win, and I think it's going to be a very. I think they're. When are they playing each other? Not playing each other until later in the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, much later.
I don't. I'm just looking at the schedule. End of the month
Yeah.
in Calgary, and they have one more in August. So I'm curious to see who can get the better of this matchup, because this might be crucial when it comes to deciding the West Division standings.
We also must we have to congratulate Caleros. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. As I always talk about interceptions, bully by Mitchell was 1-1. Did you see some of those passes Caleros made? He dropped them in the hands. He rifled them into the hands. He led them into the hands. He put it in places where the receiver went. The kind of things that are amazing is his passing is amazing, and he can do all kinds, and his elusivity is something that really helps him to be a great quarterback. And it's so nice to see a man like him who went through what he went through for all those years. I know we say it every week, but folks, I feel the same thing every week. Every time I watch him play the way he did, it's not just a relief. It's a manifestation of not wanting to quit, not giving up, believe in yourself when everybody doesn't. Good for him. It's a great story. People like you who like to write stories, that's a story that everybody wants to write. I mean, the guy's got a book already that he could write with what
For
you know
sure.
what he went through.
Yeah, so that was a good game there. I know we only have a couple minutes. You want to touch on the other ones quickly?
Absolutely. So then we had Montreal, right? And they could have won. They did not. They looked good. Trevor Harris was doing what he needed to do. It just didn't work out for them at the end. Hamilton did enough. Ottawa started well. The Ottawa Evans started well. The Hamilton Evans finished better.
I think what we're seeing with the East teams is a lot of them are doing just enough to win, but they're not. They're doing just enough, but they're not getting enough. There's not a lot of separation right now, even with the lower teams in the West and the teams in the East. And the East has to figure it out. Like, Toronto won that game, but they could have easily have lost that game.
Absolutely.
Montreal could have easily have won that game, but they lost that game. Hamilton, Ottawa, one team had to win that game and win their first game. So I think right now the East teams, it's good to see that Toronto came away with a win against the West team, but I'm seeing teams that are doing enough to win, but they need to figure out to find that extra gear, and they need to find it soon, because we're going to be very close to almost cementing a West crossover. I'm going to predict it already, but I think it's going to get cemented very quickly if these East
Absolutely.
teams are around.
Good segue. Montreal fits that description you just described. They lose 32-31 to the Edmonton Elks. And I got to tell you, they looked really good. Trevor Harris had them going. But then, as does happen, interceptions hurt.
I mean, 2 interceptions. It's in the CFL. If you're throwing 2 interceptions, you got to hope your defense is strong enough to bail you out,
Or
if
you're
they're coming back.
three touchdowns.
Right. He had the three touchdowns in the second quarter, but then nothing in the fourth.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You if you're gonna have those mistakes like that, you got to be able to put up points to overcome them.
Absolutely. And you know, I have to tell you that as far as Montreal is concerned, now they have, you know, a new coach. They have a quarterback in Harris that I think is pretty good. Vernon Adams, you know, he's a good quarterback too. When he gets healthy, he's going to give Harris a bit of a run. But did you notice where the coach of Montreal ended up?
Yep. It's Montreal is in for an interesting. It like what's happened there, and then what's happening in Hamilton. Tommy Condell's job appears to be safe right now, but I'm sure he's also wondering what does this mean for his future, and if Kahari Jones has more of a say into what the team does offensively going forward.
Yeah,
Good on Hamilton up right away too.
That's an interesting situation with Kahari Jones going there. Looking at, we haven't talked about the spitting incident.
The referee should have handled that right when it happened. All I'm going to say is, I don't think the teams would make that up. The CFL should have handled that right then and there, and they didn't. And the game kind of lost a bit of its luster because of that incident. That's all I'm going to say on that. Saskatchewan's got the reputation now too that they don't want, and that's something that the organization has to figure out.
I'm going to say that I don't doubt that. You know what could be true as well, and I said this in our earlier show on Candid Frank Live. I don't think it's possible. Do you think that Richardson thought he was spat at, and Williams didn't spit at him? We know that nobody said anybody got spit on, right? I didn't hear that. Did you hear anybody was spit on? No. So let's start by talking about when we say the word spit, there was no on, and on is about that is what's degrading. Now, if someone pretends to spit at you and doesn't, or if someone spits in a different direction, is that a bad thing? Well, of course, but you know what's worse is swinging a helmet at somebody. You know, that's where I think the line should have been drawn, and a lot of the stuff that happened during the game wouldn't have been a part of it. There were things that Saskatchewan fans and have talked about. You know, if you follow the internet, where there was kicking that was done, there was this that was done. I believe that if the swinging helmet was punished immediately, it would have sent a message to the two teams. I think that was a mistake by the officials. It happened before the game. Anytime stuff like that happens before the game, you've got to take obviously the guy doesn't want to play. You know, doing that kind of thing is just, you know, swinging a helmet.
If that's the way they're going to act, you're not going to play.
Kicking players, I don't condone that either. You know, some would suggest that a rider was kicked. Some would suggest that the rider wouldn't let go of the Argo, so he kicked him off him. But these are all excuses. At the end of the day, I truly believe that the missed call by the officials of not, as much as I love Williams and he's a great player, swinging a helmet at somebody, no, that's got to be a line you can't cross, and that's got to be a line that the officiating in the league says, and the CFLPA says that's not the look we want. I don't think we want a look of, you forget about the spit. The spit was invisible. Nobody saw it. It can't be proven. It might be proven, but as yet I haven't seen any proof. But the swinging helmet was clear and obvious, and if Richardson did something to cause that much anger or did something that can be proven, then those two players, the referee should have made sure they didn't come out. That's how I see it anyway.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Okay. Well, he's David Morassutti. I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. I want to thank you folks for joining us. And I got to tell you, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, David.
Take it easy. Thank you.
I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching CFL Talk Aaron Live, Mondays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, CFL talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer can be watched on SpanglishWorld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody.